council, and we'll call the meeting to order. It is 7:13, and I've got a motion moved by Councillor Hassan, seconded by, I believe that's Councillor Sibiston, is it?
Probably squiggly.
Yeah. Okay, that council adopts the agenda of regular meeting RM 14-2021 as presented, unless somebody has some additions. Does anyone have any additions? Okay,
I do.
yes, Councillor Hassan.
I want to add the review and the Red Cross.
Okay.
I don't know
Should we
where
put
it's
that
gonna
under
be.
old business? We don't actually have old business there. Maybe we'll put it under new business.
I think it's an all business because we talked about
Oh,
before.
tabled items in old business. So B, okay, Red Cross.
Dash the review.
Oh, dash
I
review.
do have an update in my SAO report.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there, and if you need to, you can open that
Okay,
subject.
thank you.
All right, any other amendments? All right, so I've changed the wording of the motion to read as amended. All those in favor? And I've got 4 hands, and Deputy Mayor, are you in favor as well? Okay, 5 in favor, none against. Motion's carried. And moving along to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations this evening? All right, none noted. Councillor absences. We have 2 councillors absent tonight. Did anybody get a message from either of those 2 councillors indicating they wouldn't be here?
Liza had said she was gonna try to make it, but I guess she's still on the road.
Oh, she was on the highway?
Yeah, she was coming back from Yellowknife today.
Okay, well, I'll take that as notification. Councillor McPherson, I will write that down. I've got a motion. Oh, and here is Councillor Moreau, so we only have the 1 councillor absence to deal with. So I've got a motion to just take note that Councillor Bellefontaine left the room for a minute. Or maybe it'd be easy. Well, we'll just move along. So motion moved by Councillor Sibiston, seconded by Councillor Hassan, that council excuse Councillor McPherson from regular meeting RM 14-2021. All those in favor? Okay, 4 in favor, and Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, that's 5 in favor, none against. 1 left the room, right? Just take note of that. Delegations, item 6, we do not have any. Adoption of minutes, we don't have any. Number 8, mayor's report. Other than a little bit of follow-up with Minister of MACA Thompson regarding some issues I've been hearing with the DAP program. I did meet with him, I believe on Monday, to discuss some things I've been told about the program, indicating some concerns. And, you know, there was some back and forth on that. I'm still a little disappointed in the program and what's happening. And then today one of the items that we talked about with the minister was the Red Cross and the resolution that the village council passed, requesting that the Red Cross be brought into the community to help with a review, amongst other things. I was told by the minister that that was not going to happen. It was followed up by a letter which we received, was it yesterday? I passed it along, I think, to the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hassan. Certainly the rest of the councillors can see that. I then contacted the MP, Michael McLeod, by email, gave him a lot of the background information, also the proposal that the Red Cross had put in to us, indicating what they could do, including the review, asking if the federal government in some way through their disaster assistance program and guidance could tell the GNWT that it would be a covered expense under the disaster recovery, or if it could be funded in some other way. Just looking for some help in that regard to bring in the Red Cross. Haven't heard back yet. That email was just sent out today. So that's my update on what I've been doing on behalf of the council. And any questions? Okay. Then I'll turn it over to SAO Corrigan.
Thanks. Just a couple of things. We've been struggling with some staff shortages on public works, but nonetheless, we started crosswalk painting today, as you might have noticed, and we're scheduling our light up crosswalk installation in the coming weeks. I met with the Red Cross today, Melissa Fogier, the Senior Manager of Alberta Northwest Territories, and I met with Jen McManus, and we discussed the MOU that Council had approved previously. We're confident that we can get the details worked out this week and get that signed. We also discussed a review, and they've indicated that they can, that's something that they can do for us as a review. We just have to, we discussed some of the details. They're going to talk to their evaluation team, see what their schedule's like. They think they can do it remotely, so team meetings, phone interviews, that kind of thing. And they also are hopeful that they'll be able to do it under the $5,000 that council approved to pay yearly to the Red Cross. So that's something they haven't committed to, but they're hopeful. There'll be some back and forth between the office here, the Red Cross, finalizing the details of the MOU, and they'll get back to me later in the week on a timeline with their evaluation team. So it's moving forward. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Okay. Any questions for SAO Corrigan on that or any other matter?
So
Hi.
if it's gonna cost more, we should be able to pay a little more.
Yeah.
I don't mind going a little higher if we have to.
Yeah, if we have to, yeah. Once it's not in the tens of thousands, that's where
Yeah.
we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Like the budget's getting a little stretched this year, but we're doing okay.
Okay.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor, you had a question?
Yeah, Kevin wasn't clear on what the review MOU would look like, but can you explain that process a little bit more clearly?
We'll have to work out the process and then with the evaluation team. And so what will probably happen is they'll meet with council or a committee or a subcommittee and to hammer out the details, exactly what council want this review to look like. Do you want to keep it to one group of people? Do you want to try and interview as many people as possible? What are the goals? That kind of thing. So that's something that we'll work out with the evaluation team.
Okay, so do you need an MOU before that happens?
No, we'll wait for a proposal from the Red Cross and we'll meet with them and we'll we'll work it out with those guys.
Thank you. Kevin, Sean, would the council have a look at that criteria of that review before it goes ahead, please? Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody will have a chance for input on that, just so that it's designed to do what the counselors wanted to do, looks into the areas that you think need to be looked at, because it's no use doing a review if it's not looking in the right corners, so to speak. So definitely, that will be available for everybody to give an opinion on that, input. Okay, we'll move along to tabled items and old business.
I still have one more question. So, I mentioned many times we should consider a recovery plan. And asking about that, I did not have any definitive answers on that, whether it was agreed upon and that a EMO plan would go hand in hand with a community recovery plan. I just want to know why this recovery plan is not considered here. Thanks.
Is that a question for me?
Well, you are the mayor, I guess. We're not supposed to really talk directly to the staff. It's just going through the mayor's meetings here, yeah.
Deputy Mayor, to me, like, we almost don't know where to start with a recovery plan other than what other territorial agencies are doing and what we're doing for our own municipal services. There's a lot of human element to this recovery, I think, and to me, bringing in the Red Cross will help us to identify what needs and gaps there are in bringing this community back together. That will assist. Like, you know, when you say recovery plan, it sounds easy, but I think there's a lot of things that need to be looked at and thought about, and it's not all on us either. I think it may be useful for us to go through this whole exercise with the Red Cross beyond just the planning for the next emergency, but finding out what we've got in our community right now and what needs to be addressed still. So at this point, if you said, well, what's the recovery plan? I'll be honest, I'd just say, well, it's a combination of us repairing our municipal infrastructure back to what it was before, and relying on the government MACA programs to put people back financially, at least where they were before. And you know, ongoing outreach by health departments and things like that. But I couldn't tell you exactly what the needs are in the community or how we should direct that things happen. These are like open questions in my mind as to where we go.
That's exactly what a community recovery plan is.
Yeah. So
that is the questions and what we've been going through. There will be a plan to say if there's a disaster, first we take care of the people, and these are the things we do. And then we take care of the community infrastructure if it has to be, and this is how we'll do it. And in long-term planning as a result of the disaster, these are the things that we have to consider to put into place. And these are the funding resources, and Red Cross has excellent community recovery plans.
Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. I think that will be a discussion that we're going to be having with them, and will probably form part of a larger engagement that we might be able to have with them. Right now, just trying to figure out how this is going to get paid for, and you know, with the full intent that we want to do it. I think there's federal money, there's territorial money, there's even contributed money that we could possibly still access. And together, it's such a good thing to do for the community, I think, that hopefully the project will take off in a larger scope than just a review of our emergency plan. And we'll be able to do these things you're talking about. How's that?
Actually,
Oh, Councillor Hassan
are
has
we gonna
another
discuss this issue
comment.
on another, it came as another agenda item, yeah?
Right.
Mm,
I guess, yeah, we could move on and then just kind of give yourself a break here for a minute, and then we'll bring it up again. Councillor Hassan wants to talk a little more on it, on
Oh.
item 9B.
Well, I will talk about it later, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we've got, if there's any other questions for the SAO related to anything else? All right, then we'll move to number 9, tabled items and old business. We've got the 2020 financial statements, and I've got,
I was unmute,
oh,
unmuted myself, I was talking, so sorry that you went through already, but are you saying that I shouldn't speak to this anymore? Are we done with this discussion?
no, but it's just that for the purposes of the agenda, it was turning into the discussion that is supposed to be under 9B. Like it's going back and forth and all around the table, and it was just meant for a quick question for the SAO.
You want me to wait until we get to,
9B.
okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so this is 9A, 2020 financial statements. A motion moved by Councillor Hassan, seconded by Councillor Bellefontaine, that council adopt the 2020 audited financial statements as prepared by Crowe Mackay. Any questions? Any concerns? All right,
Are there
then the
any
show.
changes or anything?
no, it's just like, there's nothing's changed since that draft.
Okay.
Okay, and we initially, several councillors attended a meeting with the auditors and went over the whole financial picture with any highlights for certain things they wanted us to be aware of. There were very few things that really drew any attention at all, but they, just for clarification, they went over some things. Then we had our committee meeting where people were able to ask any questions, and if between then and now there were questions we could have asked the auditors, and at this point we're just saying let's get these approved over to MACA, and that's part of our obligations to keep our funding flowing. So a show of hands then, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Just abstain.
Okay, 1 abstention. And Deputy Mayor? Are you in favor? Sorry. I didn't hear you. You're in favor?
I said yes.
Okay. So that's 5 in favor, 1 abstention, motion's carried. And now we're back on item 9B, Red Cross, and I'll start with Councillor Hassan because he put the agenda item on. Go ahead, Councillor Hassan.
I'm really kind of disappointed at the GNWT. You know, this review, first, it's two parts. When we discuss this issue, before we discuss about the reviewer, we discuss about we get and invite the Red Cross to come and help to fill up the DAP forms. So the GNWT refused the idea of bringing them to fill up the DAP forms or helping people to fill up the DAP forms. The other part, which I don't think that the GNWT have the right to decide if they are not supporting our review, because this review is being passed unanimously by the council and they have to accept it. How we're going to do it doesn't matter. Where we're going to get the money, it doesn't matter. But we have to have the review. That's a must. If they pay for it, they don't pay for it, you have to find a way for covering that money. It's really good for them if the Red Cross is doing that, because the idea of the review is not to point fingers at who did not do what or who did what. It's the idea is to review our existing emergency plan and update it with a better way of planning, and then we can move ahead to a better way of serving the community if there is any disaster happen. And it includes also, that will be a guidance or a guideline to have the recovery plan, which the deputy mayor is talking about. It can be a guidance for us, for the whole community, what's going to be our recovery plan if we have an emergency and how we're going to go back to normal life. That's one. The second part, the Red Cross. There are two international agencies that are working worldwide: the United Nations and the Red Cross. The Red Cross worked before the UN, worked since 1980, I think, 1880 or 1880, I think. Yeah, 1880. And they've been working really, they have an agreement, federal agreements with all the governments. As I remember, the ladies, when they came here, they signed their last agreement with 192 member states of this world. We are one of them. They have a federal agreement, federal memorandum of understanding or agreement or whatever we call, with the federal Ministry of Safety, or yeah. And the federal government contributes in their efforts, in their work in Canada and overseas. They've been doing a lot of work overseas and in Canada here, and they help on that. They are not waiting for like the few bucks we have, but how it works when they get invited. And that's a good thing that we have a memo. We're gonna have a memorandum of understanding with them, that in case anything happen in the future, they will raise the funds for our disaster. Then that fund is not going to be used in a different place. It's going to be exactly for a disaster happen in the same region. And it could be national, it could be international fundraising, and that's how it works. And this is honestly, this is a good opportunity for us to have that kind of relationship with them. We have right now, they say 5,000 or whatever you mentioned, just a little figure. Any business in this community can pay for that. I can pay with my business. I can pay for that amount of money. Why are we making it like very difficult and making it very complicated? Oh, the Red Cross is coming. It's not coming. They are there. Just let us move ahead, and we don't have to. We always argue when we talk about the governments and how bureaucratic their ways are and roadblocks. They have a lot of process and procedure and protocol. And why are we doing the same? We are not here to do that. Just, I believe the council should move a motion right now, and I'm going to move that motion myself, that we accept the Red Cross to do the review. How much it costs doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, honestly. That's if we want to help the community. Otherwise, if you want to come and sit here and just chat and yap, then honestly, it's just we're gonna be wasting our time. When they come here, there are guidelines of what we want to see from them. I give you guys an example. Our emergency plan, all that big emergency plan we have, it does not include any sheltering out of the community. It still is there. If something happens, we don't have anything to shelter, to accommodate people out of this island. That's when they come and tell you, this is your backup plan. We didn't know that when we put that emergency plan, we didn't know that they're going to be COVID. We didn't know that the GNWT is going to fail us. So there was no any plan of having 10 city or 10 town or 10 tents out of the community. Those are the things which is a plan. It's a plan, and that's how it works. If you guys want to make it bureaucratic way, I don't know. But I think I'm moving a motion right now to invite them or to call them officially, call them and let them start the plan. Otherwise, I might change my mind from this plan. If I change my mind, I'm going to go for pointing fingers, honestly. Thank you.
Yeah, just, don't we already have a resolution to get them?
So why are we discussing it?
Your worship? Okay,
Don?
okay. Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
The motion was made already on June 7th.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be to restate that June 7th, but to include that we want to go ahead with the Red Cross.
Okay, and SAO Corrigan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, just on what I touched on today with my meeting with the Red Cross today at lunchtime. I just want to make sure council are clear that we are moving forward with this. That I did indicate to the Red Cross at lunchtime today that we do want to move forward. We want them to do the review. We also want them to update our plan. So using that, we talked about using the information that will come out of the review, updating our emergency plan, also developing a shelter plan to go with that. And, out of the review, we will see other things that we need to. So either way, whether or not we pass, council decide to pass a motion now, either way, it is moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see the point of passing another motion when it's already happening, but I'd like to just read one thing here. I looked it up. Yes, this arrangement that the government of Canada has with the Red Cross. I'm reading a story here. It's on the Government of Canada website. It says Government of Canada provides 70 million in additional funding to the Red Cross for ongoing COVID-19 response. Now that was in December 23rd of 2020. In May of 2020, which was earlier, they actually announced a commitment of up to 100 million to help the Canadian Red Cross meet increased demand due to COVID-19 and to support future floods and wildfire relief efforts. So it's obvious that the federal government supports Red Cross activities that in partnership with provincial governments and municipalities. So this request that we've gone to the MP with, I think I'm expecting that we'll receive a positive answer back, and that somehow an arrangement will be made that will allow for increased work to be done by the Red Cross. So I think that all that's happening right now is just getting the details hammered out and the scope of the project that's going to happen. We're going to do the review no matter what. I think that's already been established by the SAO based on the funding that's been allocated. And we're looking to expand that right now with some extra funding. So it's going to happen.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for the DAB, the GNWT, they're gonna refuse that if we invite the Red Cross to come and fill up the DAB, because that means we will show them they're incompetent to do their job, because that's the GNWT market's job. If they don't have people to do that, when we get people from outside of the GNWT, we show them that you guys did not do your job. That's why they're gonna refuse it. This is the obvious. They are not going to accept that we're going to bring the Red Cross to help in the DAP form. But the other fact which people do not remember or do not even recognize, or they don't have the sight to see further, it's not only filling up the DAP. It's the way how you approach the community here. It's the way how you deal with people. The Red Cross have the expertise of dealing with people in all kind of situation, all kind of condition. It's not just your boss, I'm gonna come, you tell me what you lost in the flood. They're gonna come and sit with you and they will ask you, it's not a leading question. They will ask you, respecting your mental status, you're respecting your privacy, respecting like so many things that the GNWT the GNWT employees, I cannot say that they're well trained to do that, because I don't think they dealt with the disaster like this. If they dealt with the disaster, they won't fail us at the beginning. We are looking to get support from people who did not even support us when we need them. And right now they're not even supporting us. Those are facts. Even if we deny it, those are facts. Everyone knows. So to get a professional, just like we need a doctor, we cannot say, oh, we're gonna wait for the GNWT doctors who are sitting in the offices to come and treat us from a disease or from a problem that we have. We get the professional help from professional departments, and that's our problem here. Honestly, they will fill up the forms, and the GNWT should help us on that. Are they doing that? No. I personally, I didn't fill up until today. I didn't fill up my application. One of my applications, I didn't fill it up until today, because it's kind of, I can't say complicated, but it's mess. I lost a phone. It's written that what you lost. There is no value of what I lost on that application. But if I get a professional person who know how to deal with the disaster, where did you, even if you don't lose anything, when it happened and you evacuated the island, where did you go? Where did you stay? With whom you stay? Those questions, the GNWT is not going to bother with asking. You might have stayed with your cousin, with your relative. There is always a cost behind even behind the scene, we don't see it, the GNWT is not going to see it. That's the reason why they don't want to, they are not going to accept us to get anyone to help us. Okay, we are over with that. Just let us concentrate right now on the review. Thank you.
Mhm. I mean, further to that, I've been told that MACA thinks that they've got all but about 20 DAP forms in at this point. But what the way they're measuring is the 60 homes that actually had floodwaters in them. And I actually believe there's hundreds of DAP forms that should be going in. There's all kinds of things that would qualify, I think, in the name of disaster recovery. One of the most basic things in a town that has food security issues is food. People had their food destroyed. There was no power and no way to get back to their homes to acquire the food. They either had to take it with them and basically donate it or give it away. And when they came back to their homes, there was no food in their fridges. Now, I don't know why the government of the Northwest Territories thinks that's such a hard thing to set people up with, is a replenishment of the food in people's fridges. Food is expensive here. And to lose even $300 or $400 worth of food is a big hit for anybody. And some people may have lost more, but basically they're saying we're not paying for that. So what part of disaster recovery is that? Like, that's ridiculous. And I think by bringing the Red Cross in, we'd be able to hear from them how other provinces handled it. And I've been told, well, we don't care how other provinces handled it. But you know what? That's why they don't want the Red Cross to come in, because there's a lot of information that will be coming to us, and if we're being treated in a way that just is not that good compared to how the rest of Canada treats victims of disaster, then we got to ask why. Why is that? In such a high cost place where we have so many challenges already, why is this chintzy disaster assistance program being laid out for us? It seems like it was designed to be cheap from the start. It wasn't meant to actually help people get back to where they should be. I actually truly believe there should be hundreds of DAP forms going in from this community. And the only way we're going to get it is by pushing on the program, lobbying for the things that should be in there, and having the assistance of an internationally recognized organization like the Red Cross behind us. Because embarrassment works sometimes. And when the government gets called out and told, look, you're not really out to help us, you're out to see how much money you can save. And that's not very good. The look on that is not very good. So that's the way I'm seeing it right now. They don't advertise their own program. They haven't done any outreach with their own program. I don't even think any of the decisions about how they're spending or allocating the money right now is coming from any local people. I think it's coming from people up in Yellowknife. I think they're guiding this whole process, and we don't even know who's in these rooms deciding for us what we're going to get and what we're not going to get. It's an information void. It continues to be. There's big gaps in when the work's going to start, when it ended. I think as time drags on here, we're going to see problems are going to get worse, not better. And of course, the government's just waiting for the timelines to quietly pass by so they can say, well, everybody had a chance, too bad you didn't put in. Yeah, we always said that if you thought you needed or you thought you deserved something, you should have put it on the form. Do you see anything out there that actually says that? I've never seen it. Is there anything on bulletin boards? Is there anything posted anywhere other than their own government website and buried in reams of documents about what the program's about? And the forms are difficult, as Councillor Hassan said. Sort of don't even match up to what you want to put down. So yeah, do people need help with that and their own physical, mental, emotional health and well-being? Yeah, I think that's what the community needs. And it doesn't matter what the government thinks, because they seem to be guided entirely by a financial motive, which is to be cheap right from the start. Let's see how little we can get away with paying. That's a pretty sad commentary on the biggest disaster that the Territories has faced in my lifetime. that they should come at it from that angle, I think. In a community where, let's face it, this community's faced a lot of challenges over the last 5-6 years. We had a grouping of suicides here. We've had housing crisis is ongoing here. We've had a lack of investment in infrastructure, a poor economy, not a diversified economy. We've had issues with even our roads, fires, COVID, floods, and probably the possibility of looking at another flood again next year. And what do we get? A very poor response, lack of information, not a program we can count on in the future. It's time to change that now.
Well, the water has gone down a lot.
For now,
Almost back to normal.
yeah.
It is, I'm surprised.
I hope it
It really
continues
went down.
that way.
It's good.
If we remember right now, the GNWT mentioned that by September or October, everything will be back to normal. Right now, we are 3 months after that, what happened, and we are getting close to the winter. And the winter is going to start. They're going to come and blame the winter. Oh, because it's cold, we are not going to be able to do that, and it will be dragged to next year after the next flood. And we are going to be in this vicious cycle with the GNWT. You know, once someone told me this is just a Facebook flood, and that was a really good word. It's going to be a Facebook flood. But if the GNWT is still keep treating us like this, it's going to be Facebook flood, it's going to be Twitter flood, and we're going to be just bombarding the GNWT and shame them in the public eye. And we're not going to stop. It's not something personal. You cannot work. We elect these officials to be there to fight for us. If they are not going to be fighting for us, they will be held accountable for what's going on. And as the mayor said, the bureaucracy right now, people who are taking these decisions on us, the same people who took the decision on sending our people to Fort Smith, to an arena, families, kids, elders, whatever, people with pre-existing health conditions, they decided to send them to Fort Smith. So it's not even us. It's not. I don't think that's us. So those are the people. They live in a different world, not our world here. So we can't stop. We have to be fighting, honestly. And it's going to be a big, long fight. Otherwise, we will just be failing our own community if we don't do that. Thank you.
Councillor Lafferty.
Well, there were some people that went to Smith that they were given apartment to stay in. And then there was some that lived with other people, that they billeted them for their stay there. So actually, some people didn't do too badly. And these were elders that they were given apartments. And then the one that stayed with this couple, she had a small baby and was pregnant. So they took her into their home.
I think that's
So-
true that individuals in Fort Smith stepped up, often
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
their own pockets, and paid for people to get better accommodations. It's just that the government didn't do it.
Yeah,
The ones that were supposed to be helping us, they abdicated their responsibilities, and the people of Fort Smith stepped up, just like all the food supplies.
they
They all
did.
came in through donations, most of them.
Yeah. The people really stepped up and helped out.
Yeah,
And just like here with all the food, when I got back home, I took my little stuff that I had in my freezer, and I had my berries, so I didn't want to lose them. So I took my cranberries and other berries I had with me. And lucky thing, Kathy had enough room in the freezer. And then when I come back to town, well, they were giving food out, so I had food to take back with me. So, I did okay. I wasn't missing out on anything. I had everything that I needed because I got a lot of free food. Like even when I got back home, they had a bunch of food. They moved it to the arena, and we went there, and we just were given everything that we really needed.
just a question, SAO Corrigan, did the government buy any food during the emergency for Fort Simpson?
I believe they got those hampers, you know.
Just
do
the
you remember?
hampers.
Yeah.
So the ones with a bag of pop and a bag of, or a
There's
can of
few
pop and a few
things,
bags of
you know
chips.
the ones I mean.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
I mean, they were nice. They were comfort bags and they were nice, but no food. That came all through.
Yeah, there was a bit of food in that
Yes,
hamper.
It didn't come from the government. It came from donors,
The
donations.
hampers had some food in them.
I believe that was paid. The hamper, the black bags were paid by the government. But all those other days when planes and trucks were coming with food,
Well, there was tons of food.
that was coming from mostly, I believe,
Mostly.
privately donated from citizens all over the north. But a lot of it came from some of the big stores in Yellowknife. And I don't remember the government ever saying, can we buy some food for you guys? Even though your stores are closed, there's no other way for you to get food. I don't remember the government ever offering to buy one stitch of food
Sean,
for this community.
And then
Sean,
the
on the Minister of MACA made a statement at legislative assembly. He did say that he bought some groceries for Fort Simpson.
Yeah, that's what those black Pampers, or black bags or whatever they were there.
The reusable shopping bags.
They were
Black
shopping
bag
bags
on
with
it.
some food in it and some comfort stuff, pop and chips. Yeah, that's true.
and the hotel donated a bunch of food, a bunch of meat and stuff. Because they had to get rid of their stuff otherwise it would go bad, eh? So they put it all out in the lawn there at Denise Martineau's. So we got phone calls and said to go over there and get meat, and so we got some meat there, and
Yeah,
yeah, it was, we lived all right. We lived pretty good fun.
well, thankfully
Yeah.
people were donating.
Yeah.
Councillor Hassan.
I don't want to make it make the item a longer discussion, but I just want to mention something. We are close to we're going to be facing another flood, probably, hopefully not, but
Hopefully not.
hopefully not. But we have to expect that Fort Smith, Norman Wells help, Hay River help. Are we going to be just depending on the help of those small towns every time we have a problem? No, we should not do that. That's one. The second thing, which is also attached to this matter, we were fighting for the health center and the long-term center for very long time. For as a council here, we're being fighting, and I just I saw the post from the mayor as the response from the Minister of Health that we're going to have a health center probably 2029 or 2039. I don't know. It's going to be a very long time. We might not even be here when they build it. So are we expecting that every year the GNWT is going to be evacuating those people, the elders and the long term and the hospital to other communities for until that time happen? And I remember that I think it cost like $2 million to do that work. So are we going to do that over and over and over until 2029 or 2039? And the sad part is the Minister of Health's response to a request from the village here. That's the beginning when they even opened their eyes that we need a health center. Before that, what happened? All these years, what happened about the health center? There is nothing. There is no record, and that's really sad part. Who is responsible to do that? Who is responsible to push for that? And I don't know how many projects that the GNWT submitted to the federal government to support on capital projects. I have no idea. Is it a public information or is it just confidential information between the GNWT and the federal government? Okay, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. We had a meeting here about the power plant. Where is it? There is nothing, honestly. We had the study of the bridge. Where are these projects? There is nothing to be seen, nothing to be found. They just vanished.
There
So
there was meetings, sorry, in 2018 or 2018, I think it was, when they came and met with us for a 50-bed long-term.
Mhm.
Remember that?
I think so.
It was written on the minutes of the house that I remember, and I mentioned that when the premier was here, that at that time Kevin Minikosh approached like mentioned this, and they said it's 2016 to 2018, I believe. I don't remember the date.
2023 or
Then right now,
2026.
according to the letter that came back to you, that there is nothing. There is nothing about the
Well,
health
the
center.
money
No one even
disappeared.
bothering about the health center.
Because they wanted to put it
Sorry.
at where that hostel had been, but then the chief said no, there was burial ground there, so they couldn't do it there. So that's how come the money disappeared, and because there was no place to put.
So all these
Long-term.
questions are going to be I can't say will be answered, but will be part of the review that we're going to have from the Red Cross. They will not miss it. They will never miss these kind of very important topics. So that's why we are pushing for the Red Cross. Thank you.
Okay. Yes,
just-
Councillor Simpson.
I was just gonna mention that the notion of receiving help is a very from this institution that we're referring to is very much a colonial attitude, because traditionally the organization has played a particular role, and it has not been to help. Right? It hasn't been. It's been to take advantage of and then cover it up. So that's so I know that people coming from a different perspective, a different country, people coming from different places, they come here and they think, gee, the government, why aren't they helping us? Well, hello, right? I'm not surprised. Okay, you're gonna see the only guy here, I'm not surprised. I'll explain to you why, because when I looked into it, began an investigation, and began to conduct a literature review, an exhaustive literature review on the question, which I've done. I found a document that's entitled "The Administration of Justice in Canada's Northwest Territories between 1890 and 1990." It's the name of the report. I found it in the Federal Government Archives, in the library. It's in the National Library. It was written by a guy named Lloyd Allen Patnode, and it was it provides information in it that is it's unarguable. Every single thing that the government does is for its own benefit, at the detriment of the Native people who are living in the area. Everything. There's no example of them coming in and helping out the Native people. No, when they came out to help the Native people, they kidnapped them, and then took their kids and took their kids over to the thing. Oh, thank you. Right? So all these people who are surprised, I'm surprised the government's not helping. I'm surprised they don't want to help. Oh, he's surprised because you don't know the history. The history of that organization here is one of exploitation and destruction and murder, rape. How about, do you want to go and you want to start pointing fingers now? You want me to start doing down the list? Because that's what's going on here. It's what happened to my grandmother.
And they had
It's
the
what happened
RC
to my
church
dad.
that helped them out too.
Well, the RC Church was on a payroll. They were getting paid on a contract basis from the federal government. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody blamed it on the church. As far as I can tell, the church was just doing what they're getting paid to do.
But they
Just
weren't
like everybody
getting
else.
paid to kill babies.
Well, whatever they were getting paid for is what they're getting paid for, and it's all. And this is what I'm saying is this what I'm trying to explain is that this is a situation where it's incredibly troubling. From my point of view, in my heart, it's just the scariest, horrifying. It is a horror. The past is wilderness of horrors that I cannot even. It's hard for me to. To express it properly, except just to say that the same organization that is that's still conducting business here as a limited liability corporation, in order to limit its liability and in order to enrich itself at the expense of at the expense of anybody, it doesn't care, right? That's not like it has a conscience, right? There's no conscience in the bank. Right? They're not sitting there thinking, "Oh, is this right? Or should we be doing this?" No, they're thinking like, "Oh, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get out of our $1 trillion in debt? And how are we going to get out of how are we going to make it out of here with our shirts?" right? They're not worried about how can, so you wonder how come they're being cheap. Yeah. They're being cheap because they dropped the ball. They're basically, they're facing bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
facing bankruptcy. This is not a situation in the devolution deal. They signed away in a secret deal that was negotiated in secret without any oversight from anybody else in the Northwest Territories. It was signed it was signed with the federal government as a devolution deal where they tied the future revenues of the Northwest Territories to oil and gas in the Arctic. Basically putting a lot of eggs. I'm not saying all the eggs, but they put a lot of the eggs in that basket. They said, look, this is, they knew how many trillion cubic feet of proven reserves there. They knew what the numbers are for the proven reserves. What they didn't expect was for the United States to pull the rug right out from underneath them after they had just hired. So they hired a team. They're negotiating on the opposite of their table is a team of American lawyers hired by the federal government to negotiate with them. So then now it gets into it. So, and then within months after that deal was signed, the United States just said there is going to be no oil and gas in the Arctic. There's no more drilling allowed. And that was it. Done deal. The entire economic plan, the entire business plan of the whole GNWT that they had negotiated on had basically been pulled out from underneath them now. So now it's desperation sets in, right? How are we gonna do this? How are we gonna satisfy how are we gonna do it? And the debt just keeps increasing and increasing and increasing. And now you're gonna start to see the assets, the main crown assets and the main assets being leveraged. So you're gonna start to see armed guards in Hanny National Park. Armed guards for the Adegier. You're going to start to see armed guards. You know why? Who are they protecting themselves against? The one who's going bankrupt. They're protecting their assets. They're centralizing and controlling their assets in order to protect them against those other bankrupt sons of guns over there that are going to basically go down. And now we still want to keep the park. Right, we know GNWTs, you know what I mean, but we're going to keep the park here, and so they set up a separate. Right, they're hedging their bets. Right, they're diversified their portfolio. They're hedging their bets against it. Right, one way or the other, they're not going to lose that.
Okay.
So
That's good. That's enough.
Well,
so there you go. So that's what I'm saying. Is it realistic to expect that they're going to help? I talked to the military today. Okay, I talked about this magical phone call that was supposedly made. Well, my understanding is that didn't happen. I talked to JJ, who was at the emergency management meeting prior to the flood. He said, I reported back what happened, what the contents of the meeting. He said it was.
Did anybody call the military?
This is what I was wondering, and this is what I was asking because this is where I felt. No, I did not ask the question explicitly, but what I asked was, I said, was there he said, because he said, my superiors knew. I reported to them about that meeting, about the event, about what I had offered, what the clarity and what we offered. Here's our contact number, and they're done his responsibility. He'd dispense his responsibility, right? And then he reported it. It was in his report, right, to his superior. Everybody, it's the Army, for God's sake. So he's not, mystified by did this guy call him that? I'll tell you what, it doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think anybody
Doesn't look like it. Right?
from the village anyway called that guy.
Well,
But
but
what we're saying is, I called the premier, and the SAO talked to the head of the MACA department here, which means that's the chain of command that would normally be used. So there were two different approaches used to calling the military. Neither one seems to have reached its final destination.
this is what I'm trying to get at. There's a communication issue here. Somewhere it's broken down. And what I'm concerned about is the deception and the willingness to throw all of these poor flood victims under the bus in order to save $1. And they don't want to bring in the Red Cross because the Red Cross is going to provide us with a national perspective on the issue. Oh, how terrible for this. Poor Fort Simpson, we're actually going to know what we should actually be expecting in a first world country. And now they don't want us to know that. Oh, no. Hey, you guys, we're so used to getting treated in third world and fourth world and second world conditions now, and they're throwing their garbage at us, that they don't ever want us to know that people in Quebec get a different standard of services when there's an emergency, that there's a different level of investigation, that where there's a different level of transparency. Like what I'm dealing with right now, right here, is that as a taxpayer, can I afford to pay for this to happen again? Yeah, okay, well, I'm affording it here. All right, I'm affording it. I'm affording it right with the, we're not paying, okay? But next year again now? You know, at some point, we just have to say, look, I'm not paying that anymore. Right? People who are living off the island just gonna say, look, I'm not paying. I'm not paying it anymore. I'm not paying for the places that have been taxed in flood zones. They're not even supposed to be taxed in a flood zone. You know, this is what I was explaining before, is that we've inherited a lot of issues in our municipality. We've inherited a lot of institutional wrongness that has been normalized in our community. And that is where we are at right now, where we don't have the forensic investigation techniques, the technology. We don't have to, in order to sort ourselves out. That's why I think the Red Cross is so darn important, because they might be able to provide us, to help us, to give them the perspective, to bring us to an update, to update us to the point where we could expect what we should be expecting in first world country. Not what we're going to get from this, you know, government that's been throwing us under the bus and doing everything it can to usurp our land, to take away our rights, to strip us of our freedoms in our home, on our own homeland, and to eject the people and to displace us and to get rid of us, all the people here, so that it can claim the land and then take it to the bank and mortgage it, because it has no way of making any money. It's just going to borrow as much as it can until it goes bankrupt, and then the bank's going to own it, and that's the plan. So this is what I'm trying to get at. Is it's okay? Is it okay with everybody? Do everybody want that? Is this all right? I don't want it. And I don't want how do I abide by this? This is my question. Where do I fit into this? Right? Do I fit into this as a counselor that's just going to, you know, play a supporting role in the institutional degradation and the institutional tool being leveraged against people against people? Well, I don't want to be in that situation, a counselor doing that. I have to think to myself that we have to answer to a higher call now. And we've got a local governing body here made up of a lot of local people here. It's not like the good old days, right? It's not like the old days where it was just all people from outside of town all getting together. People, you know, it's all because we all know the history of the village of Fort Simpson. It's always been people from outside of town running the village, people not from here. So here we are now, there's people from here. We're saying, gee, we want the Red Cross. We need some help here. Some real honest to God help. And so this is where, you know, maybe if this is being lost on, and this is what I was explaining. It's a hard thing for an MLA from here to understand that unless they're from here. That is a hard thing for them to get. And as far as they're concerned, what's the problem? Government's here to help. Yeah, the government's been here to help you and your dad and his dad because of the color of your skin. They've been here helping you. All the help that you've gotten like that. Try being on the other side of the coin, where you're the landowner.
Your dad was part of the government for years.
Yeah, that's true.
Did he educate you on that?
Yeah.
What the government was doing?
Well, this is why I'm alert to it. That's how I gain my political awareness.
2 big pensions, so I mean, he's not poor.
But I mean, well, let's leave it at that.
My dad's like, here's the thing is that, okay, my dad went to law school and he became a lawyer, right? He's not poor. He's not got money because he went into politics. He's got money because he went to law school. But regardless of that, or whatever, you know what I mean? And not only that, if you know my dad, you'll know that he's no slouch. He gets up in the morning, he works all day. He's a hardworking guy from the get-go. And talking about if it's brush, if it's hauling, I watched him chop the head off a moose with an axe, still alive. He didn't want it to run away. He ran to it, and I watch out for it. And he had the head that cut off before the thing was in. He's a different kind of guy. You're saying he's not just rich because you know what I mean, because he the MLA. No, that's not how it works. Dad's got money because he's a hardworking guy.
Mr. Mayor, can we concentrate on the topic? That you agree with us that we have to contact the
You
Red
just gave us some
Cross
history,
and-
but yeah.
Yeah, I'll contact the Red Cross so they can come and help us. I think we all agree on that. I think we should just move on from this topic and We all agree on it.
Yeah, I think
Thank
so
you.
for sure.
Aye.
Yep, Deputy Mayor?
Okay, thank you. So I just want to ask Kevin that he wrote the letter to the Minister of NACA, but he didn't mention a review in it. All he mentioned was DAP, and the response that we got back from NACA is that they're not going to assist us with the Red Cross to do the navigation. Is there a reason why we didn't include the review process, Kevin?
We didn't have a price, so we didn't have a scope of work or a price to move forward with. And once we get more details from the Red Cross, well, then we can go to government with that too.
And so does that mean you're going to write another letter requesting funding for the review?
If needs be, but also I don't think there was.
I think maybe that'd be a great idea is to, because we have that motion from June 7th, and that's been over a month ago. We should have requested that.
The focus at the time was on the
Okay, so you didn't, so
Uh,
maybe just, if you don't mind, I would suggest that it'd be good for you to write another letter requesting assistance in doing a review with Red Cross.
the focus at the time was on
Yeah, I
the-
understand that, that's done, but
We'll
I'm
write
just
another letter.
requesting that it might be a good idea to
No.
write another letter.
We'll write another letter.
So you're talking about the review.
The focus at the time was the urgency of getting the Red Cross here to help with the DAP program, which was pretty urgent and still is, but it's more time sensitive. Right now, we're moving forward with the review. We've already committed to paying $5,000 to the Red Cross under the agreements moving forward with their MOU. And if they can do the review under that 5,000, well, then it's not going to cost us anything anyways.
One thing that maybe people
So
don't,
basically, then we're not going to request funding from the GNWT to assist with a recovery, a review and recovery.
no, I think we will. We will, just as a standard.
Yeah, that's why I'm strongly suggesting, Kevin, maybe you kind of draft up a letter to that, because we have a motion on June 7th requesting that. And now we're moving further with Red Cross, so it'd just be appropriate for you to follow the motion from your council and write a letter to them requesting that assistance for a review.
Every time I talk to the Minister of MACA, I mention three things: a review, helping to fill out with the DAP forms, and emotional and mental, physical well-being checks.
Yeah, and thank you, Mayor. That's all verbal. This needs
No, that's in writing.
documented. This
That's-
needs to be documented
That's in writing.
on correspondence.
That's in writing.
Gonna refuse, if he's gonna refuse, then we need a letter from him saying he's not gonna do it.
Well, we do have it now that he's not doing it. Basically, he's very clear.
The letter you have now is only of that, not the review.
We can clarify that again. We can do it tomorrow even.
You sent us that letter today, I just read it.
Yeah. I also got emails
So,
preceding that as well, that, they're not going to assist,
Yeah.
but they may change their mind when it becomes public exactly and the federal government gets more involved.
yeah.
I'm not too worried.
Oh,
I think that they will be paying for it.
So the other thing you mentioned, the mayor, is that you had spoken to Mike McLeod. Did you do that? Did you write it in the letter?
I wrote an email.
What was
I wrote an email to him and I CC'd it to you and to Councillor Hassan, who has met with him in Yellowknife when he was in Yellowknife last week.
I didn't get a copy of that email.
To
You got
the
a
MP.
copy of the GWT denying our request for assistance.
Okay, I'll send you a copy of the one I sent to the MP.
Yeah, okay, so, maybe if we just put on our letterhead, I would strongly suggest we put things on our letterhead and do an official letter.
Yeah,
And then you mentioned that you spoke to Mike McLeod.
I actually do think I sent you a copy of that. I'm looking at it here. You were
Oh, you
CC'd
did?
at 11:13 a.m. this morning, so unless it went somewhere, maybe in your junk, because I also sent Michael a copy of the proposal that we had received from the Red Cross. And it included all areas,
Well, it was not clear on the review on that Red Cross correspondence. If it's the one I've seen before, it mainly talks about that.
right. Right, but I think we were always intending that, that was the initial response we got back, but every conversation we had after that was always that, we were going to do a review, and we were going to also try to take advantage of their skills and abilities, expertise in dealing with people's health and wellness. They're after all, they're a humanitarian organization primarily, right?
I know what they are. But I'm just saying that we did mention that the communications was just terrible throughout this whole ordeal. And the best way to deal with it is to do official letters on letterhead and being specific on what we want, and not leave things out and leave another one in there, because we had passed that motion on June 7th, and yet there's no correspondence regarding requesting assistance from the government or a review. We did for DAP, but not review. So we're not carrying out the motion that we had done on June 7th. And so I think we should do that now. Might as well catch up now. And I strongly suggest that, Mayor, that we do an official letter regarding these and recap our discussions thus far. Just to recap where we're being denied assistance.
Right. Well, we are
And
intending
I
on
would
doing
strongly
that.
suggest that we do that. The other thing is that with McCall, I would like a letter written, but you did mention you spoke about a review with him, but
See, I still think there's need for three things here. If you had actually lost money, lost your home or your business, and there are a lot of people here that did, it's actually really important to them that they be put back into their financial condition, right? Now, I know it's hard for some people who didn't, but some did. And I gotta speak up for those people, right?
you have been,
That's number,
thank you. And
that's number one.
we don't have
I don't wanna
any
ignore that.
information, Mayor, as a council member myself, as exactly how many DAP forms were completed, why, how many have been denied, or anything.
That's what I was gonna say. A lot have.
Yeah, I haven't seen any correspondence giving us a report on what's happening with it so far. So I can't really speak to that. I'm stuck here.
Well, do you think the government's sharing that information?
Well, all you gotta do is ask them for it. You're the mayor. But we need.
I was told today there's 40. 40, basically,
Need it. I don't need it
we're
now.
not the government. It's not our program. They're not doing their job. That's all I'm telling you is that,
Yeah, I understand that.
what do you want us to ask them? Just send a list of questions. We can forward it every day and you'll get a daily response, I suppose, if they want to do that. But, I'm not blind. I can see what's going on, and it's very little.
I'm not questioning anything you're saying. Thank you. You've been doing a very good job so far. Don't take it that way. All I'm saying is because communications was really bad, that I think from this day forward, any request we make to the government or to the feds or to the Red Cross or the United Way or whoever has the resources out there, let's do it on letterhead and make it clear exactly what it is we want. It's not very clear right now.
Right.
Yeah, you might have it in your email, but I'm just suggesting that we do that, and that's all I wanted to say.
Right. Okay, SAO Corrigan.
I just want to point out real quick that the June 7th email that Deputy Mayor keeps referring to says to conduct an independent review of the village's emergency plan, and that's exactly what we're doing. The administration has been following all the resolutions to the best of our ability that council passes every meeting. So we're doing that, and we will continue to do that, and that process is unfolding.
Thank you. But at the last meeting we had, there was discussion where you and Sean had mentioned that it was going to cost $70,000. So at that point, I don't know where that $70,000 came from, and it sounded like there was no appetite to continue on with that review. So I don't have I don't have access to all the information to really speak to it, but because I'm just getting some information here and some there. I don't like that because
Maybe
I
you should
can't
come to
really
the
make a
meetings
decision
then.
on behalf of
Come here.
the residents here. And I need all the information to make informed questions or questions.
Yeah.
So the 70,000 was a shock to me. The last time we talked about it, now it's right down to 5,000. So it's going up and down. It's kind of confusing. So I'd just like to say, I'm not questioning anybody, that we start writing letters on letterhead and be very specific with what we want. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Bellefontaine, you had something?
Yeah, just for clarification, that $70,000 was for, that was to have the Red Cross come here, and they were going to, that was the quote, if they were to come here for 10 days to assist residents with filling out forms and to help with other things while they were here, perhaps helping with the review and stuff. The 5,000 is just for doing a review remotely from where they are now, because the other price was to have multiple people from Red Cross come to the community and assist anybody that needed help with their applications, because they have experience working with these exact forms in other communities. So that's where the big difference came from.
Yeah. And I think, the review thing can be probably nailed together here pretty quick based on the discussions the SAO is having with the Red Cross and the lower number. Just a bit of a,
They did, yeah, when we were talking with Red Cross here on the 22nd, they did say they can do one in 48 hours.
yeah.
Just one more point I'd like to make real quick is that when the folks from the Red Cross were here in Fort Simpson, they had their time dedicated to us, as in the community, while they were here. Since they've left, they're busy with other things too, and all their time isn't dedicated to us. So things aren't moving as quickly. Like, it's more difficult to hammer out times for meetings and whatnot. So it's just a little bit slower moving than it would have been, while they were here, dedicating all their time to us.
That's
It's just something to
understandable,
bear
at
in
least
mind.
now that we have a file open with them. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well,
In the
Yes.
meantime, while we're working on the review and other things, I think we should also start moving ahead by designating a new town on the mainland so that the government doesn't have to keep paying every year for these floods. We've got to move. And let's
And
see
yeah.
if they'll cough up some money for the move, because that's gonna cost them a few million.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
and
like
Marie,
that.
that's absolutely correct. That's what we call a community recovery plan. That's the long-term plan. I completely agree with you.
It's not
Thank you.
long-term, we've got to do it in the next few years, the next 5 years.
Yeah. Well, we
can't wait.
we do have a community plan review. Never really got going because of COVID. That might be just as well, because now it's changing a little bit. And I imagine the whole focus will be on how the town's main infrastructure and new subdivisions will all be off the island, because we're not going to reinvest on the island too much. We saw what happened. So it might have focused the community's minds on what just needs to happen now. I think it'll be easier to come up with a community plan before people have a lot of different ideas. I think everybody's united in knowing that we're off the island. Just find the areas that are best suited, and let's do that. Now, we've already engaged a company to help us with the community plan. I think part of it was they would come in a couple of times, have community meetings. It's getting very short to the time when we can actually do that and have open meetings with people who just fly in from wherever. So I think we're going to start that up here right away.
Sean, the community plan is completely different from a disaster recovery plan.
Right, although,
community plan is ongoing, and, yeah, we could mention that in there, but a community recovery plan
can you show me one?
gets to the point where Red Cross will probably be able to explain it better than I could. But they would let us know exactly what resources are out there that we could access immediately to help our people. They'll also be able to tell us, okay, there's flood areas in the community. You shouldn't build there anymore. So we have to make a municipal decision on stuff like that. So what is the flood level now? If it's up, then we need to talk like that, and we need long-term planning, and that's what that recovery plan is.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, Stephen's planning to rebuild downtown and he's in the worst part.
Yeah. Councilor Bellefontaine?
When we're talking about a
Yeah, and my
recovery plan,
question specifically to
I was just gonna
the-
finish up real quick, just,
Sheriff Matt,
okay. It's just, I think with a recovery plan, my problem with that is we would have to have a bunch of different recovery plans. I think it's a really difficult thing. I don't think that's something easy to just do, because if there was a fire, there would be one recovery plan. If there was a flood, there would be a different one. Depending on how severe it was, I think it would be different. So to have a recovery plan and say, the first step is we're going to restore water. Second step is restore power, whatever. We won't know that until it happens. So I think it's like spending a lot of time working on something. I wouldn't even know where to begin with that, because there could be so many different things to recover from. I think right now our focus was dealing with preventing something from happening again. So I thought working with the Red Cross, this $5,000-ish amount of money that we're spending to do this review will help us see how to move forward with that. And I think that's really a good first step.
Yeah, there's,
thank you, because Alberta and BC, they do have community recovery plans, and that template covers fire, floods, and or whatever other disaster comes. So it's just a basic template that we can follow.
Maybe we can request theirs.
Municipal governments in BC, Ontario, and Alberta, most of them have recovery plans, community recovery plans, and they need to be included because it's their community. So it's not something new. It's been done already. It's not something we have to figure out ourselves. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. They have good resources and professionals that help them with that template. Thanks.
okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. All right, I think we just about exhausted this topic for now. I think we all understand what we're moving ahead with, and we'll report back on any official letters that we send or responses that we get, and see where this gets to as soon as possible with the review. All right,
What about just a copy of all of the invoices and all of the checks issued from that, between then and then? I mean, that's the information I need to see in order to in order to reconstruct on what has taken place, and that's what the information that anybody's going to have to ask. There's no other information that can actually be harnessed to reconstruct the events. That's the information.
I think there is. I think we have to go talk to the RCMP, to health, to NOAA, to all the different people that took part in the emergency plan.
had concerns.
Yes, and anybody I for one have concerns. There was seniors on the island that wouldn't leave, but a couple of them dropped into our place to have coffee and a meal, but they would still go back to the island and sleep, and that was really concerning, because the one guy, the water was right up to pretty close to his house, and yet he still wouldn't leave, and he was in his 80s.
Mhm.
So there was quite a few people on the island, and that's a big concern, because I don't think people should have stayed on the island. They were told to leave and they wouldn't leave. So there's things like that too that are, I think they should be maybe talked to and, ask why they didn't leave the island. Because if the Mackenzie ice would have come one of those nights, the island would have been totally covered because there was so much ice and so much water. They wouldn't have had a chance to get off the island.
Yeah, if it
That's
happened
the
at night
problem.
too, that's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I see that.
It's a good question to ask people, because was there some information that we could have given them that would have made them feel more at ease leaving their home?
I
I find that the GNWT's lack of a real response in helping us is going to cause problems down the road, because people are going to be less inclined to leave their homes rather than more inclined, because they're going to say, well, I got to save whatever I can save. I got to
Yeah.
stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't expect that the GNWT is going to help me. I already see how that works out. So really, they're setting us up for a worse disaster if
Yeah.
the situation comes down the same
That's right. Yeah.
way. That's why this kind of stuff is important to get right. And I think we should keep pushing the government to do the right things, to help us in the right way. After all, we're taxpayers. And yeah, my question is, why would we be treated different than the rest of Canada? They're more worried about treating us all the same up here, which is just kind of like the chintzy, cheap way. But we got to look at how people got treated in the rest of Canada. And I see provinces like PEI that stepped up right away with much better disaster assistance programs when they got hit with Hurricane Dorian in 2019. Why is it their program immediately started with the $200,000 limit? No pre-qualifications for business. It was basically you pay a $5,000 deductible and just make your claim. And we know is double the price up here pretty well. And they go with half the amount that they offer.
And
no food.
Since the COVID, the building supplies have maybe tripled or quadrupled.
That's right.
They're
So
really expensive
double on
now.
double is, and businesses, while they have, like pulling teeth, kind of reluctantly agreed to pay for all of the repairs on houses. They may be driving up the costs for themselves by just taking this delay approach, slow and easy. And as contractors make their bids, they're going to be realizing it's going to be difficult as you start to work into November and you have to get materials here and cross the ferry, and you can't count open past October 15th. I think we're going to see costs driving up. The government's even going to respond with we got to be tight-fisted here, and could drag things out even worse. I don't know. I just think, yeah, we're doing the government a favor by passing to them the concerns of the community, because they don't seem to be closely connected to those concerns. They're not hearing it. They're just not hearing it. Definitely the people in Yellowknife don't get it. They really don't get it
No.
as to what happened in this community. They still do not get it. They do not understand. And, this is the sad part.
Everybody's seen on what was happening with the towns on national.
The rest of Canada understands. They got it. The only ones that didn't get it were the ones that we trust, or we should be able to trust to help us. But, we found out that they failed. And we don't want them to continue failing. I'd like to see them step up and do the right thing. But we're going to get the Red Cross, and they're going to help us. And we're going to pay for it ourselves if we have to. And that's the way we're going to go about it. Councillor Bellefontaine.
Just a quick question too. The deadline for the DAP is the end of this month. Is that right?
For the advance, which is the 10,000 or 50% of your claim, and that ends in July,
Okay.
July 31st.
And do you feel that, I know you've been dealing with a lot of people on this, do you feel that most people know about this? I'm thinking of a few people who,
No,
I'm thinking of a few people, one cabin shack way down the end of the island, and then one down here that's tipping over. And I'm wondering, do these people have the means to be figuring out how to fill out these forms? Because if we are not getting people to help them, personally, I wouldn't feel comfortable helping them fill it out in case I did something wrong and then they miss out. You know, they get disqualified. But who is there somebody? I know they sent in what they call them, navigators. They sent people in that are supposed to help. But how much outreach was there? Because I'm thinking of a few people in particular that the deadline's going to come and go, and they're just out of luck, and there's really nobody to advocate for them. I don't know if their family have stepped in to try to help them with it. Some of them might not even have proof that they own the home. So
It's like asking the banker to advocate for you to come in and take a loan.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
so
You
then-
go in, you lay out all your paperwork, then they sit there and go, let's see if we can help this person, right?
Yeah, because
Do they qualify? This and that. Have they passed all the hurdles? Is there going to be any problems? This is how they view it, right? It's like most people know that the government's not really going to help them, and there's been zero outreach from what I can see. I guess if you can figure out how to make an appointment, go up to a government office, be there on time, and sit down and kind of be told a few things, maybe. But they're not going to probably sit there and help you fill out a form. I don't know.
I think LKFN said that they were gonna help out some of those people.
Can I ask for a point of order, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah,
Okay, this topic, I believe we killed it, and we
Okay.
already passed, whatever we're gonna be just yapping and talking about something we all know. Let us move on and go to the next topic.
okay. Yeah, we
Thank
do have
you.
a little bit of extra business here, so it's a good plan. Exhausted that one. It's item 10, committee minutes and recommendations, there are none. 11, new business, there's none, but we do under 12 have one item. And that is a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Lafferty. That bylaw 2021-004, a bylaw to acquire a lease from territories on a parcel of land locally known as the Ski Hill and shown on the attached sketch, be read a third time and passed. And anybody needs to see that sketch, it's here. How many acres is that? Do you know offhand?
I don't know that.
Okay,
Size.
it looks like a fair chunk of property, takes in the ski hill and areas on both sides, so right to the top of the hill. Any more questions on this? We've been doing this for a little while to get it ready for future development. This ski hill lookout. All right, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Deputy Mayor, are you also in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 in favor, none against. Motion's carried. And correspondence and information, none. Council matters and concerns. Now, I almost think we must have all said what's bothering us, but just to be sure. Councillor Hassan, do you have anything extra to add?
Yeah, it's just for usually the rec staff is doing the cleaning and cutting the grass, I believe, around the community here, right? There are some areas that we noticed that there need to be, I think, groomed a little bit. I will come and talk to you about these areas later, but some of the residents, they really complain about them. And that's all. Thank you.
I'd just like to, if anyone notices anything like that that's being missed, if there's areas of grass that aren't being cut, just be sure to shoot me an email or a phone call or come see me or talk to Andre at the rec center as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sibiston.
Yeah, I want to see all the invoices and all the checks from that flood period. Because I think that's the central to the entire thing. It's obviously it's the elephant in the room, right? That's what nobody ever wants to get. That's why they don't want, no. And I'm saying, until I see that, how am I ever going to have any idea, right? Where could I even begin to understand? Unless I be able to understand the basic financial, and as a responsible counselor, I need to see it. So I need to see all the invoices and all the checks from the time period, from May and June, because I want to see. That's the way she goes. That's what transparency is about. It's what accountability is about. And I'm going to make sure that happens here. This council has been running off the rails in the pocket of all of these outside interests for so long. And all the poor people here living in Fort Simpson have had to live with it. And that's got to end. So I want to see all the invoices. I want to see who's getting paid what, why, where, and when. Otherwise, I don't have a clue what the hell's going on here. I'm in the dark like a mushroom.
We can probably come up with some kind of financial reporting on
The flood and then for
disaster relief portion here.
I see it.
And even during, because we are signing a lot of checks, invoices are coming in.
Yeah.
It's just, it wouldn't be normal, let's say, to have to look at each individual invoice at this point, because what's that really going to tell you? There were services acquired. We can break it down into categories for you.
I'm a simple guy. I just want to see the paperwork. And that's what this is all about. That's what this accountable mechanism, that's why the entire mechanism is designed. It's designed so that I can have that information and provide it to and provide it to the people who need to have the information too. I'm not going to get looted. You think I'm going to hang around here and get rolled?
Now remember,
I'm no chump. I'm not going to sit around here and get rolled by a bunch of Tom, Dick, and Harry from God knows where. People just show up in the community here and loot the community and take off. Forget about it. I'm going to see the information. I need the accounting in front of me. We're going to go to Red Cross. What are they going to want to see? First thing they're going to want to see, all the invoices and all the checks.
Well, we'll come up with something. Is that
Well,
possible?
it's possible. Not only is it possible, but I need to see it. Otherwise, because I don't want this issue to carry on either. We're beating the dead horse here, and there's no resolution. If there's no going to be any in a review, if nothing's going to happen like that, then I'm going to have to do it.
I just have a,
Okay, yeah,
thank you.
go ahead.
I understand your frustration and your request. Do we have the right to, as councillors, to get whatever those companies that, because we don't pay them in the village here, so we don't have access to whatever they got paid? How are we gonna deal with that?
Well,
It's
we
not-
only can give you information related to the companies we paid.
Yeah, the companies we paid, but the other companies, we won't be able to find anything about that.
Well, that's okay. I'm only concerned with this company. I'm only concerned with the expenses of this company, and that's what I gave because that's my job. And here's the thing too, is that I remember the Red Cross, I wasn't here, but I heard them on the telephone. I remember the first thing it was one of the first things that lady said. She said, that is what happens in these situations, is that improprieties take place, and that by doing the independent review, that's why everybody's all freaked out and scared about it. Come on. The adults here, not kids. Well, let's just throw it on the table. Need to see it here, and we'll clean up this mess.
We'll see
Because
what
that's what it's turned
information,
into.
we'll see what information we can compile.
Well, how about this? The information, all the invoices and all the checks from the pre-flood meeting right to after the thing, right from the start of the emergency process, right to the
It's possible.
right to the end of it. Well, it's not possible. It's got to happen.
Yeah, I don't know.
Otherwise,
what
I
the-
can't do my job anymore. Without information that I need in order to make these determinations, how can I make that determination without any information?
But we can probably get you the information. I just don't know what good it would do yet.
Oh, it can help me, because all of a sudden, I'm going to understand exactly what the hell's going on here. I'll be from being a mushroom who doesn't know a jack to a person that actually does have the information. No, okay, I see how Fort Simpson worked during that period. I see what happened. You can see the dates, see the times, whatever.
We'll
But
probably
bottom
have
line
a
is,
bit of a finance committee meeting to sort of go over the expenditures related to the emergency and recovery up to
but
this
I
point.
don't want one of those reports. I don't want to see a report. I just want to see the copies. I'll report to myself. I've got one part of my brain, and it's going to report to the other side of my brain after I see the information with my own two eyes. How about
Right.
that? Because I don't believe what's going on. I don't believe that everything was okay. I believe it was, basically, what it looks like to me is that we got looted.
Right, but I think-
Community has been looted,
I think
and
you
I want
should
to find
see-
out who looted it, and I'm going to find out who's got what and all that.
Right, but
How
I think
about
you
that?
should see the overview information first, and if there's something about that that doesn't look right to you, then we can delve deeper.
It does not working for me. The reports are not working for me. They're not effective. They don't work for me. I've seen the reports. I don't want to, it means nothing to me. They're meaningless. I've got to see, I have to be able to see, what the expenses are, and otherwise, like I said, how can I even begin to understand and pierce this mysterious episode of and I know that's terrifying because, I know that, I get it. But all I'm saying is that's it. Until I see it, basically, I cannot continue to dispense my duties. How can I continue to function as a counselor when I'm not, if I'm stonewalled by the administration from getting any information that I need regarding the basic expenses of the organization? I can't even do my job. I can't even make a determination. How can I talk to Red Cross with a straight face? Like a clown to them, right? They're going to know more than me about it.
No, we're not trying to hide the information. It's,
Well, as I was saying, I need to see it. I need to see all the invoices and all the checks from that time period. And can you please provide it to me?
yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll decide if it's right, wrong, or okay, or whatever. Then I can ask some questions. How can I ask informed questions without any information even to start with?
Right.
All I hear is about Facebook and
But in
Bong
some
hit-
ways, what you're saying is, I should have been the SAO to make all the financial decisions because I don't trust the administration to have made those decisions in the best interests of the community, which is what they were doing. And at this point, to say, well, I need to go through these with a fine tooth comb to find the little, things that I don't like is just kind of, it's unreasonable in a way, right? Because the administration has certain responsibilities they have to carry out. We were in an emergency. Some things if you were
So is
needing
that a no?
something now.
Is just tell me a no. I'll give it to you in writing. I'll make the request in writing.
Well,
So
I
you
think
can
there will
refuse
be,
me in writing if you want.
there will be financial information provided. I just don't know if it will be up to the level at which you'll be happy with, but it will be enough that you can certainly start to ask questions. And if those questions warrant, we may be able to dig deeper and you may see things that,
So you're saying, you're telling me no then? The books are closed to me. Is that right?
well, I just think it's not the normal thing for us as a council to be doing.
Well, that's what we're supposed to be doing, and what hasn't been happening. What's not normal is for a council not to investigate those particulars because it's the money that always comes down to. And I get it. It's a big, I know, believe me, I know how Fort Simpson works, and I understand the friction. I understand the problem with that. All I'm saying is I don't care. And either you can provide that information to me, or else this is a defunct situation for me, and I basically have no more reason to be involved because there's no information. I've been stolen. I can't get any information I want. Can't get any answers. All I keep getting is bump back from Red Cross and this and that, and it's like what? It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. It's not transparent at all. And this is what I'm trying to say is that's what the Red Cross said. It's suspicious. There's no transparency. It's suspicion. It breeds suspicion. Right? So you want my trust? Let's see those documents on the table. That's how you get my trust. Right? If there's something wrong there, right? Well, maybe you didn't deserve the trust. I don't know. I don't know that information. I haven't got a freaking clue. I have no idea. That is a dangerous place for me to be sitting when I'm supposed to be making decisions.
Okay, Councilor Bill Fontaine.
I think this is kind of like before we had a counselor that they were always asking for specific information that the rest of council didn't have any concerns about, but that it was like, I want a list of every vehicle that we have. When was it maintained last? But we have a supervisor for that department and we have an SAO. And then if for some reason we spent $1 million on vehicles, then that counselor could say, hey guys, like we spent $1 million, that's in the budget. What's going on here? And then we would discuss, do we want to investigate it further? So I think what you're saying is we're going to see reports. If we see the total and we feel there's something out of place, but next thing, I mean, I could be the next one to talk and I could say, I want to know how much we spend on office supplies, and there's certain things that are just, we come up with policies and ideas and then the SAO is the manager that runs
Reports
things.
are good because if you got If you
Because
don't
you can
collate the
generalize and
information,
hide everything under them. That's why reports
Yeah.
are good.
I mean, if you saw one invoice for one item, it would really mean nothing. Unless you'd have to look at the invoice, look at the hours, look at the time, look at the quote. I mean, it sort of becomes, well, I'm just duplicating everything that was already done by the administration, working to get things done and do it in the most economical and expeditious manner that they could. But now second guessing apparently way after the fact, how things should have gone.
Well, I just want to know what money went where, and if that's a problem, then that's a problem.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor. I believe
but I'm hearing you.
Council
I'll see
Solicitor
what we can do.
has the right to request whatever.
Yeah.
I think the best idea is, we are in council issues and concern, it's not discussion.
Yeah.
He can write whatever he want, and he is entitled to have the
He's
information.
entitled to ask.
Submit it to the administration, whatever you want, whatever request in writing, and let us deal with it. It's very
Yeah.
simple.
I mean-
We are not here to discuss.
So
what
I
we
have
want.
to make a written request now. It's not enough
That's
for
the
me
best,
to ask for
no,
it.
that's the best way.
But I just want to sort of make clear.
It's the best way. We
I
are not
have
here to
no
discuss what-
reason at all to think that anything untoward happened as far as how the village acquired services and dealt with the emergency and paid contractors to deal with
Oh, me neither.
services and things that we needed during the recovery. I just have absolutely no concerns. Now you speak like as if you do, and we'll try to get you some reporting, which will at least maybe give you some comfort in saying, well, all right, that's what they spent. It's just like the territorial government. They have told us last week that they basically spent $10 million. Now, I guess we could say, now give us a breakdown, more, but you are our government. We want to know
Yeah.
deep, let's hear it. But I don't even think that's going to be a big deal at the legislature, because they know that the people that are in charge of those programs and administering the funds, you got to trust them. That's why you hired them. Now, if individual instances that you might hear about or something where it just seems so wrong, or something we paid, what, $100,000 for paper clips? Well, that's where you got to come back and say, no, there's something I've heard and I need this to be investigated. But unless there's something driving it, I'd say, and certainly maybe these are numbers and things that the Red Cross might be interested in. What was the cost to the community? How did we deal with it?
Yeah. Well, it's a standard, it's the most
But it would
basic.
almost be better for an independent group to look at it like that, because they'll at least be assessing it in terms of what the scope and scale of the emergency was versus how much did you spend to do different things for your community. We're not, as individuals here, sitting inside of the bubble, almost like the best ones to judge
Right.
how well that's why we're asking them to come here in the first place.
Yeah, but what I'm learning right now is that from asking for the information, and the answer is no. And
Well,
I
I
love
didn't say
learning.
no.
Like I said, I'm a learning guy, right? I'm
Yeah.
learning from this process. Very inexperienced in these municipal
I think we're all
municipal
learning.
organizations the functioning. But if I'm not if those information is not available for me, and that's what I'm being told right now, that no, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
I
what Councillor-
thought that normally information, because of the responsible nature of the position, that information was information that was necessary, that was important for me to have access to, in order for me to make determinations at council meetings, and in order for me to communicate effectively with the community. That's my job. And so now that I'm finding out that actually, no, there are limits to what you're allowed to know about the organization.
Right.
And there's okay, I get it. All right, fine.
Okay.
I'm learning learning from my, I'm so naive.
right?
SAO Corrigan.
I believe all of our invoices and that should be available to council, or is there, I'm not sure if there's any privacy issues there.
I think at a finance committee meeting, councillors can attend and we can give them a list of all the payables if they want it.
So what we can,
I don't know how much good that will do them. but
we've
certainly.
gotten
Well,
one,
I need to know how the community works.
we have had one claim into the government so far for the month of May. We haven't finished putting together June's claim yet, but the May claim, like I don't see why we can't share that with council. The government wanted the backup, so we compiled all of the invoices to go with that claim. And we sent that to the government. Now, we have copies of all the invoices filed away, obviously. We don't have another compiled copy of all the invoices associated with the claim. And that's not to say that we can't, if councillors are looking through the claim and they spot a couple of things, it's not to say we can't go pull out those invoices, but it's going to be a bit of work to get all those invoices together again. But what I could do is see if they still have that the backup at the MACA office here, and then it'll be very easily just go make a copy of it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right, is that if I can't, if this is, sort of, I live and learn, and here I am learning and finding out information. I'm glad to hear that you're finding that's a pretty simple thing to do, because that's what it seems like to me. There's accountabilities involved. It's the first thing Red Cross is wanting, because I'm tired of being in the dark. I don't want to sit here and be, I get it. I'm left out of email chains, important email chains. I tell you what, I've got emails in my phone. I've got communications issues too, right? But I'm not going to start talking about it now, because I don't want to be pointing any fingers, as it's called, right? Or whatever. But all I'm saying though is that this is information that I need in order for me to feel okay about doing this job. And if I can't even, and I just, it's not that hard. It's not that big of a request. It's not that hard of a thing to do. And you don't mind, that'd be fantastic, because then I'm not going to have to worry. I'm not going to have to wonder about it. I'm not going to have to sit here and ask myself, are these guys from Red Cross, are they conducting, are they doing that? No, after that information is compiled and it's available to the councillors, we'll make the determination. We'll do it says in that, if you want to get sticky about it, in the motion here, it says we're going to conduct a review, not commission a review. And so to that, if I could speak to that, let's just say here that in order to begin conducting this review, I need that information. Otherwise, I have nothing to go on, like zero. And I mean zero. And if I could have that, another thing is can I get some communication records, some phone records? If there is information that was provided, there's going to be an email chain behind it, right? I tell you what, I've sit here and suffered through people bad-mouthing the Rangers, people bad-mouthing the armed forces, bad-mouthing, and really, I came down to, I had the conversation with the sergeant from Yellowknife today. He said there was no phone call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a different story, right? One person's telling one story, and then the other person's telling another story.
It's
Well,
Bellefontaine's turn to speak, please.
oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand up there.
No, we just normally limit it to 2 minutes, and I feel that I want to remind everybody too that we're a council that's supposed to work together. We're on camera, and some of the comments tonight are very accusatory towards the rest of council, as if there's a big cover-up going on, and I don't think that really instills confidence in the community, in the council, if that is what people really believe. And when this report comes out, if we look at the overall cost, and like I said, if there were costs out of the ordinary, then it would make sense to investigate those further. And I think that's kind of the short version of the story. I don't think it really has to go this long. At the same time, saying it's not that much work, administration has a huge job ahead of them, especially coming out of a recovery or this emergency that happened. And I think to ask them to start doing these things, because the next thing will be, we want not only see invoices, I want to know how many hours. It's happened before. Councillors have asked, how many hours do these people work? I'd like a breakdown of what they do each day. And that is not our place. We do not oversee the employees. We don't break down each individual thing, but we can request overall information. And from there, if council feels there's a need to investigate something, then we certainly look into it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. But for my councillor concerns, I wanted to say I noticed the new sidewalk. I thought it was really great. I know a lot of people liked it last year. And there's one other one here that I talked to a couple people about it. And I was thinking that maybe we could do this other one, instead of doing the same as down there, the same colors, maybe we could do it to show support for the children that have been found recently. So whether we do, some communities have done the feathers, if we could maybe do handprints or footprints, something to show our support and symbolize, for the children that have have gone missing there. So that's one thing. Also, we had somebody in our community today doing shots and deworming for the dogs. It's a lady that was volunteering her time. She came to our community. She's camping in the area. She did that for some people over at the rec center. The staff there were very helpful and let her in. She also went down to our dog park and had very good comments saying that it's better than the one in Yellowknife. So I thought that was pretty good, that we have shade in there and it was bigger than the one in Yellowknife. So that was kind of a positive thing. And yeah, she may be coming back in a month to help us again. So, and then the other thing would be we're working on a date for the next clinic for the SPCA. So I asked about that. So
Good.
that's it.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Morrow, do you have any council issues or concerns?
Yeah, big ones.
Okay.
It's been happening for a long time. Sometimes when I speak, I don't feel like I'm being respected. I walked out of the room twice tonight because an argument that I've been having with this council and things that I've been saying and suggesting since I've been here have been repeated word for verbatim, word for word. And it's like they're new ideas. They're not new ideas. There are things that I've said on the development committee that were said that were, I hoped would have been taken more stringently and more seriously, that would help us get through these trying times, such as the flood, having areas, external water treatment facilities. Even during when the flood was happening, I found water treatment trucks that are worth like $500,000. Just simple enough, 2 of them. One of them could have supplied the community, and if there was a disaster somewhere else, the truck could have been sent there to help. And when they're not in use, they could be going out to the camps rather than the water truck in town having to leave town to go out and deliver to these other camps and whatnot. So there are definitely things to do. I'm tired of having anything or something questioned coming out of my mouth or being put into brackets. It's disrespectful, right? I'm supposed to be on this council. I know it's my first time, right? And because of all the disrespect that I've been feeling since the beginning, I don't talk so much, right? I do most of my talking after, or I do my talking in the street or with people I know that I'm comfortable with. There is one thing that I would like to suggest to this council, and it is a new kind of disaster, and it's a new type of science. It's been coming out since 1995. The first report came out in 1995. There's an issue with science. And last year, 2019, there was 140 plus reports. There are issues with science. This is my issue with what's coming down the pipe. All right. This is what scares me. It's not the flood. It's not global warming. It's this. All right. That's the book I wanted to lend you.
Thank you.
I see many things. I see a big picture. I've been seeing it since I was 11 years old. I've been trying to figure out this town since I was 11. And everything that came out tonight, why I got angry and why I left, just so I didn't yell at everybody for being ignored constantly, is because you repeated the things that I've been saying. And again, I'm just tired of being disrespected. Having anything come out of me put into brackets. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Councillor Morrow. Councillor Lafferty.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I just wanted to ask if the village is paying for motel rooms for some people, because that was what I had heard on the street.
Anyone that's been displaced because of the flood
Mhm.
will pay their accommodations and bill that back to the territorial government.
Oh, okay. As long as we're getting it back.
Yeah.
And another thing were road signs, the 30-mile-per-hour one that we were supposed to have ordered last year. Did we ever get them? Because we had made a motion that the mile per hour is supposed to be 30 kilometers throughout the town. And we
I
had
don't think
ordered,
that passed, did it?
right?
I'll have to look it up.
We were supposed to get the signs all across town for the 30 kilometers, and I've never seen them. That was when Daryl White was, last year, right?
We definitely talked about it.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I thought that wasn't, like, I wasn't involved
know.
at the time, but I thought
Yeah.
that, my memory tells me it wasn't quite,
I thought it
I
had
thought it wasn't
passed.
passed, but
I don't know.
I'll check into it for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that checked. Because I've been thinking about it, but I forgot about it last time here. Okay, and I guess that's it.
Okay. Yeah, well, just like as a last comment, I gotta say that, I think as Fort Simpsonites, like we've done pretty well, get this far. And I really-
Sean?
Yeah? Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Forgot all about you again. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of, not concerns, but I just wanted to know what happened with our request to extend our hours on our ferry.
I didn't get a response back, and that was delivered to the infrastructure minister, who was going to give us a written response to all our questions. When asked at that meeting, there were some things brought up about cost and manpower and things like that, but they understood that there might be a requirement to keep the ferry open because of more people needing to get out and get supplies, issues with contractors coming and going. They understood that. So I think they were looking at it and they were going to get a response, but I have not received that written response back yet. And they got a copy of all the questions that we had, and they said they were going to give us a written response to them. So I guess we can follow up maybe and ask, when to expect that.
Okay, thank you. And then I think it was a year and a half ago, Kirby wrote when he was a counselor, had said we should move it to request a subsidy during when the ferry was out. Did we do anything about that?
Well, nothing official, I don't believe. No. That's kind of a Canada food subsidy for isolated locations. I know I was looking at it. It's like we're sort of a borderline community. I think you have to be disconnected from the highway system for 60 days. And it's almost like we're probably getting closer than occasionally we might make that with a spring breakup or more likely to freeze up. But there are rules about it. I think we were going to see if we could be qualifying under that somehow. But yeah, we can look at that too.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I guess in closing, I just wanted to say, I think that we've all been under a lot of stress for the last couple of months. And I know I deal with it in different ways. I tend to be a little OCD and I'll go gangbusters on certain things, right? And that's just the way I deal with things. But everyone deals with it in a different way. And I guess, as we try to work our way through this recovery, we should be respectful to each other. We should all work together and kind of realize that we're all trying to get to the same place. I don't think there are really any bad people in Fort Simpson. This was a big learning curve for everybody. I even think it was a big learning curve for the territorial government, and that's why I kind of give them a little bit of a pass as long as they continue to learn like we do, and if they're willing to be flexible and adapt and help us through this, then I'm more than willing to work with them. And I think we're going to keep learning things. I think there might even be surprises. You never know, but I think we just have to, realize that everyone's been through a lot, and partly that's why we're asking for the Red Cross. It's like a lot of people that we don't even realize are quietly dealing with stresses in their own way. And I'd like to make sure that those people get some kind of attention, and that we don't forget a lot of the quietest people are the ones that are actually experiencing a lot of internal turmoil, especially if they've lived in the community a long time. I find that those people sometimes are taking this all in different ways than I could possibly imagine. So we'll be kind to each other. I think that message is a good one, and we'll try to work together. We'll work with anybody that wants to work with us to try and make things better too. And try to keep a positive focus, especially on individuals. That's what makes up our community, is a lot of people we know and care about. So let's not forget that. And with that, I'd like to say thanks to the administration for the good job, the continuing good job, our staff. I know they've been pulling a long time for the town. Sometimes they don't get thanked enough, but it's been very stressful for them too. And, we're not going to just be instantly better. If somebody handed us a check tomorrow, we wouldn't be better. It's just not that kind of thing that has happened here. And so it's a lot of healing and working together. I think that's important for all of us. Okay, so, yeah, Councillor?
I heard somebody told me that there was excavations taking place. Okay, there was excavations taking place. There's an issue with the archaeological information on the island. For instance, the new building that are being put up, there's a lot of history on this island that's going to be found in the dirt and in the topsoil. And there are international standards for situations like this, where there are communities that have been in genocide situations where the evidence winds up getting raided. So it was my understanding that there was excavator work taking place I would like for there to be a bylaw that in order to dig, you have to actually get a permit in order to dig. Because there was digging and burying things and all of that kind of stuff. That is how the entire cover-up of all of this information took place. There's a reason why nobody knows about any of this information. It's because it was covered up. It was buried. So the information was buried, the evidence was buried, and now for people to be able to go around and just dig it up whenever they want and remove things, because this happened the other day. I was shocked. I was quite surprised. A relative of mine told me that they were digging in their yard, that they had gone in there with GPR and removed article and removed from underneath the ground, and then left. Now this is something that it's very concerning to me because of the evidence. Because, like I said, Fort Simpson is a crime scene, and this is something too that people that have a hard time. Look, how many murders have to take place somewhere and get covered up before you can call it a crime scene? Where are the authorities in this? And this is another question I've got. It's not surprising to find out that the organizations that claim authority and control during the time when those activities were taking place are now in a situation where they're not wanting to, right? Because they're liable and they're responsible for those actions, for those lives. And so this is what the conundrum we're in. We're in a deep pickle. It's a horrible place to be. It's a freaking a hell of a thing. And I do not want to live in it. I would like to be able to clean up and organize and somehow to rectify and somehow find some closure and to find some peace in this island. But those spirits don't let it happen for me. They don't allow that for me. I don't get any peace out of this. I don't get there's no enjoyment. There's more. It's just basically what do I get? What do I get from hearing my dad tell me about what he had to go through? What do I get out of it? Now here I am asking for the same information, trying to find a closure, understanding, sensibility. How do I make sense out of this? What took place? How do I make sense out of it? And you realize that those who were responsible for having conducted those atrocities are now the beneficiaries, are benefiting from those people being gone, right? You get rid of that many people, and then you move in there. There you are, right? You're the winner, right? So those are the winners, the beneficiaries of the betrayal, the horror, the lies, and the deceit, and all of the horrible things that took place, because they were horrible. I was just talking to guys that were in. They said until 1996, they were still cleaning up. They didn't have any janitors at the LaPointe Hall. It was the students. It was the kids that were mopping the floors and that were cleaning the bathrooms and scrubbing the toilets in the organization. That's illegal.
It was their chores.
Yeah, but in this country, it is actually illegal. Until 1996, it's forced labor, and they did it. So whoever was responsible, whoever was doing it, was utilizing forced labor of students. They're child trafficking, for one, right off the bat, sending them out to their human trafficking, selling kids to orphanages, selling them to parents, selling them to the church.
Who's selling
Yeah.
kids?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Easy.
What happened? You think they were doing it for free?
Well,
They weren't doing it for free.
Dreaming.
I think you started with the point that the digging around the island, now that to me is perhaps something that can be incorporated into any kind of development permit, that it's a requirement to dig on the island, at least, that you apply for a permit. Digging, I mean, there are multiple other reasons
Yeah.
to do it, but historical preservation is one. And as you say, there may be other things that, there's always power lines and what have you. I just
Yeah.
thought you didn't dig anyway, but without permits. But we can certainly make that. We'll take a look. I don't know honestly if that is a development permit requirement if you dig on your, say, even your own property. But what's below might be of concern to people. Are the people digging aware of the historical ramifications, perhaps? Are they on the lookout for things, or even inadvertently, on just person digging in their yard, they don't know what they might come across. But we know on this island, as you say, there could be a lot of historical information below the surface.
Well, here's the thing: is there was a big pile of dirt. There was a big pile of dirt in the yard. It had been spread out, and I found a silver compass in the burned silver compass, like just on the ground. The guy that I was sitting with found it, and he gave it to me. Ready? Look at this. It's a silver compass with it's got a D inscribed in the back. It looks like it's 200 years old. Where the heck did it come from? It's amazing. It's a silver compass. It's, you know what I mean? There it is. It's in my, it's in my office. Right? I'll show it to you or whatever. I'm not talking about just recovering nothing. I'm talking about there's like incredible history, and this is the type of the particulars of that history are undesirable for the current authorities and organizations. It's undesirable for that history to be known. So the responsible party, say the Prince of Wales Northern Heritage Centre, has a vested interest in nobody ever finding that information out. And as far as they're concerned, they're going to do everything. This is the way that I see it, right? This is what I've witnessed. This is my observations, is that they'll do anything. There is a number of reasons why not to investigate that past. And the reason is you'll find out every single time who is objecting. It is the beneficiaries of the murders. It's the beneficiaries of the kidnappings. It's the beneficiaries of the forced sterilizations. It's the beneficiaries, and they're benefiting from it right now today, enjoying the spoils of all of the evil that were conducted under their official terms and conditions of their contracts that they provided. So there's a paper trail, right? There are contracts for every little kid that was ripped up. Somebody got paid for that. There's a job there for somebody, right? That happened. There's a paper trail. This is not a man. This is why the only reason that it's not coming out, there's not coming out, is because the same organization is still benefiting from the atrocities, right? So you're not going to find any help there. That's what the Pope said when he showed up here. He said, that's what he said. He said, you're not going to find any money then to help you with this. And so this is where I'm questioning it, right? I have my questions, right? I question the actual validity of the authority under certain conditions. The organizations that try to absolve themselves of responsibility and yet claim authority. Really? You know, to me, there's it's not really realistic. And so the other thing is too, so this is what I'm explaining too, without accountability, without transparency, really, is there democracy? Is there anything? You know, if it's just an optional thing, like I said, you don't, so anyways, there you go.
Question everything. I know you're
Well, one
gonna
thing
drive
you can
yourself
say,
crazy,
Randy,
I think.
we do listen. You know what I mean? Like, we do take time to listen to each other, and
God.
sometimes that is uncomfortable.
I went to see a
Oh, you do?
psychiatrist. I went to see a psychiatrist over at SISH, a counselor over at SISH for my, because for my, somebody to talk to or whatever. Somebody to talk. You know what the first thing they asked me was? Walked in there. Oh, hi. My name is Randy Sibiston. Nice to see you there. There. You might be here for counseling or whatever. I've got some questions to ask you prior to, Have you ever considered suicide? Not really. Now that you mention it, though, or no? Then second question: have you ever considered hurting? Have you have thoughts about hurting other people? That's not why I'm here. But now that you mention it, do you know what I mean? Do you really? And so this is where the mental health situation comes in here. This is what I'm trying to say: is that the same people, they're not here to try to get us out of the hole where we're in. They're there to finish us off. Yeah, honestly, because of the truth that is because of the truth that is, and the imperative to find that truth only exists in the people who have been personally affected by it. Nobody else cares. Right? For insurance, let's just get out of here. Let's just stop talking about this and just move on. Forget about it. Except that it was my dad. I have to look at him again tomorrow to remember that somebody had put their hands on him. You don't think that that's answerable crime? It's like the other day, right at the swimming pool. Somebody put their hands on my little guy. They said Dalzell told me, that he was lifting him up over his head. When you're a little kid like that, you don't know if you're going to live or die in that frickin' moment. When you're 4 years old, I remember being threatened when I was in Bompas Elementary by the teacher in the bathroom. I went into the bathroom to take a leak, and the guy followed me in there, and he started to he said you're gonna end up in jail. I was at 4 years old. I remember what it was like being 4 and being vulnerable in Bompas Hall with Mr. Callback or whoever it was, telling me you're gonna, you're going to hell pretty much, eh? And then so here's the thing: is that nobody else. Well, who cares, right? I care. Why do I care? I care because it happened to me, and I care it's because it's happened to my kids now. Right here, by employees of this organization and the beneficiaries of the brutality. The new beneficiaries of the brutality and the horror that we can just go over and that. Hey, have benefit, enjoy. But I'll tell you right now, what you're enjoying came right out of us. Enjoy it. Came right out of here. All the land over here, yeah, gone. No land claim here. There's no title. There's nothing. Nobody's gotten anything here. Nothing. There is no land claim. Everywhere else in the whole Northwest Territories, they had their land claim. They got their house. They got their money. They got their stuff. They got their land back. Here, that hasn't happened. So if you just wonder, why is this guy keep shouting, why shut up about this? It's because it's unresolved issues that you can't walk over them and expect it not to have an effect on poor people. You walk right over it. I feel it. I feel it, man. I'm still emotionally engaged. I'm still down there. I'm still down there with those little people, because their bodies are crying out. Their spirits are crying out coming to. I'm an artist. I'm a sensitive person. I spent most of my life studying world religion. You know, I can tell you about the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and the Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead. I know all about the myths of the Western mind, from Joseph Campbell, Power of Mythology, Carl Jung, and Sigmund Freud, and the psychology, the situation. That's where I'm dwelling on here. So if I feel it, if I have these feelings, I just want you to know, have respect for those little ones, because they have no voice. The only little voice that's ever going to be heard again, right here, right now. Who else is going to say it? Nobody. Nobody's going to speak on their behalf. And why is it? Is just because you think I'm crazy? I'm going off a deep end. I went to see a psychiatrist too. You know what the psychiatrist told me? The psychiatrist told me, he said, "You're not crazy." He said, I looked in and I investigated what you were telling me to determine if you were right or not, if you're delusional or not. She said, "You're right." She said, "You're just a whistleblower, and very few people have this same information that you've researched. Nobody's really done that, and so you're a whistleblower." She said, "That's a very lonely place to be. Very, very, very stressful for your family. I'm sure it is, and very stressful to you." Yeah, it is. You bet it is. Very stressful for me. Very stressful to have to deal with the Stockholm syndrome, to have to deal with the denial, to have to deal with the general state of confusion on the island, the fact that there's no economy here. You know, there's no industry of any kind. Fort Simpson produces nothing. It's not a healthy situation. People got to produce things to feel good about themselves. You know, you feel good about when you do things. You produce, you're helping, you're contributing to the world. So those are some of the things that I just have to bring up. Thank you for hearing me out. I really appreciate your time. I do. Then what I will not waste your time. I'm not here to waste anybody's time. I'm not here to waste time looking into meaningless, trying to do a witch hunt for meaningless things. I'll tell you what, I'll be the guy. I'll figure it out. If nobody else is going to do this thing or whatever, we're going to beat around the bush till the Red Cross shows up, which is probably not going to happen. Or anyways, as far as, you know what I'm saying? I'm out of faith. I'm out of faith. I don't believe anymore. It's too easy to say things and then it doesn't happen. And, so I need to see that information. I'll be the determining factor. I'll decide if it's okay or not. That's my job as a counselor, right? I have to be able to, at some point, be able to verify reality, doing the same job as the psychiatrist, really. You know, is it real or is it not real?
We'll get it. But I do appreciate you, like, speaking your mind, Randy. And, I like to listen because it is true. This is the real you. You're saying what you feel, and I think a lot of the things you say need to be said. So
No one else is
I appreciate
is coming out and saying anything about it, but it's a hurtful thing. But look at the stress and the hurt in the world, and the people in the lives of the innocent people here, the innocent families that had to endure so much suffering over the years, and then now they're expected to jump into economic recovery and all this. Meanwhile, all their land's been taken away. Literally, my great-grandfather's land occupied all the way from the RCMP, the hospital, and all the way back. George Sibiston probably said, I remember my dad telling me that it was the Indian agent or whoever it was, the administrator, the village administrator, moving this fence over every year. To encroach on his land. All that land right downtown. His old house got moved up, and Todd Noseworthy, I think, is living in the house where my great-grandfather built. It was moved up off the island. But I remember that house. I remember living in George Sibiston's house right on the front road when I was first moved. My mom and dad first moved back here to Fort Simpson. I remember living in that little house of Papa's old house, and we were just it was a little one-room shack about this big, and we were living there. It's right by Joyce Sibiston's house, where she used to live by the water treatment plant. Right, that's Sibiston land. The whole thing. He had farmed potatoes on the back. Right, it's gone now. How are you enjoying it? You like it?
Okay, Randy, let's do this. Motion moved by Councillor Lafferty, seconded by Councillor Belfontaine, that council adjourn regular meeting RM 14-2021 at
9:33.
9:33. All in favor? 3, Deputy Mayor? She's still there?
Can I abstain?
Okay, 4 in favor, none against. Couple of councillors left the room there. I don't know where they left, but, okay. That adjourns our meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being open and honest. I think, that's how things get
Well,
done. I know it took a little time.